Well, that's a very scary question, first of all, or it's very weird to big yourself up. But anyway, so yeah, I'm Joe. I've been started acting in 2011, so 9 years now. There have been ups and downs, but I won't talk too much about the downs. But the ups were probably I did a play at the National Theatre. That was definitely an up. That would have been, maybe the peak. And that was 4 years ago now. So it's been downhill since then. But spent some time actually at the Royal Shakespeare Company with Kieran and Natalie. That's where we met. And in fact was in filming in Malaysia last year with Luke, that was definitely a highlight. Getting to be halfway across the world. And did a play at the Bush with Ruby, as she's putting her hand up, which was like one of the best plays I've done. It was new writing, and that was brilliant. So yeah, that's a sort of star of stage and screen. That's a sort of no, not at all, a working actor. I've been doing it for 9 years.
Great, thank you very much, Joe. Luke, your turn, please.
Yes, so I went to Bristol Old Vic Drama School, and then I did a play also at the National of Antigone, which was still my, one of the best jobs. I've never done a better job since. I loved it. And then I did TV. I did a zombie series, and so my career since then has just been trying to convince people that I can play anything other than a teenage zombie.
For which you were BAFTA nominated, just to say. I mean, you suppose you can't say that, but it was obviously a pretty good zombie.
I guess. I'm glad it was worth it after, wearing horrendous contact lenses for 2 years that gave me corneal abrasions. It all paid off. Off.
That's it. Okay, thank you, Luke. Ruby, please.
Weirdly, also, my first play was at the National as well. This is a theme. I've been acting for about 13 years. Didn't go to drama school. But we're talking about that later, how we got into it and things. And then I've just been doing like a mix of sort of TV and theatre. I've been really lucky to be able to do the mix. Do lots of like period dramas. I think the shape of my face or something about that. So yeah, it's been working along. But like so Joe says, it's just so up and down. And one minute you think you're doing really well and getting somewhere, and then you feel like you're going backwards. So
thank you, Ruby. And I guess together, Kieran and Natalie, do you want to talk about your careers, please?
Firstly, can I just say, this isn't wine, it's Diet Coke.
She's
in a
pregnant,
glass.
so she's
I went to drama school. I went to Lambda. I did the foundation year first, and then I did the 3-year course. Not because I wanted to. I tried to get on the 3-year course, and they wouldn't have me. And I kept trying and kept applying, and eventually they let me on the foundation course. I didn't really know I didn't know anything about NYT. I didn't really know anything about acting. I was at uni studying music in my first year, and then I just thought, actually, I really want to be an actor. And so then I made the switch. So I graduated in 2008 and have largely done lots of theatre, and have, I think,
great theatre.
Some good theatre, yeah. And probably my highlight would have been at the Young Vic. I did the Cherry Orchard at the Young Vic, and I think that's probably my highlight.
Thank you very much, Natalie. Kieran?
So yeah, I did do National Youth Theatre, which is actually where I first met Joe. So you got that wrong, really. And after I did MIT, and then I went to drama school, also at Lambda, which is where we met. And I did exactly the same. I did a foundation year and then a 3-year course. And I graduated in 2011. And since then, I did mainly, for a few years, I did quite a lot of theatre. And then I started doing more TV. and I basically play a lot of bad guys on TV. So I played several Nazis of different varieties, neo, traditional sort of 1930s, and then just sort of general racist throughout the ages.
Yeah, why is that? It's really interesting.
Which is worrying that Natalie's pregnant. But yeah, so I enjoy now doing a bit of theatre and a bit of TV. So, but I'm very much a working actor.
Yeah, well, I got the kind of acting bug, got obsessed with it when I was probably about 15, and then did do National Youth Theatre, as Kieran said, yeah, where we met, which was just the best time ever. I don't know if you guys are doing it. I really recommend it. You could do it up to when you're 22. Yeah, I loved that.
Or 5.
Maybe even older, yeah, depending on if Paul Roseby likes you. But yeah, a lot of people get their start from that. I know quite a few people who just did that. But after that, I wanted to go to drama school, but my dad said he thought I should get a degree. And his argument was quite clever in that, because I was desperate to be an actor, and he said, go to university because it's 3 years where you get a chance to not have any pressure and spend lots of time doing theatre, but also kind of working out who you are. And I didn't really want to, but then did, and he was right. It was good for me. I think it's different for everyone, but it meant that because drama school is very full on and working hard hours. So I spent 3 years doing lots of extracurricular theatre, and then I applied to drama school, but I didn't get in. So I left university without an agent and slightly worried, but then just wrote loads of letters. So I was obsessed with actors' autobiographies, and in them there are all these stories about people writing letters to directors. I was quite aggressive, I think. I mean, I just wrote to people I didn't know who they were, but they were quite important, saying like, "Hi, I'm Joe, I'm really good, give me a part." And one of them had seen me in a play at university and let me audition, and then I became an understudy, and then still didn't have an agent, but then from that, someone I met gave me another audition and got that, and then got an agent. So it was a series of luck, but I think it is true what they say about like it's who you know. And I was lucky that I met the right people at the right time and got my kind of foot on the ladder.
You're absolutely right. Luck was a huge part of it, but I think with you, it was all the letter writing and the amount of stuff you did at university allowed that luck to take hold. So I think, when we were discussing questions earlier, and we'll come to this later on, it is a very competitive industry. But I think you can, to an extent, make your own luck in it. So I think that's a really good bit of advice already to take home. And
I'd say you could do it. I did when I was 16. I wrote to people as well, and got 2 weeks following a director around during his tech rehearsals, which again was 2 of the best weeks. I was so excited because I was a big geek. But stuff like, I think no one minds it. Everyone appreciates it as long as when you write your letter, it's not just random, but you say, I saw your play. I thought it was brilliant. No one's going to be annoyed. They might say no, but everyone's going to be quite chuffed because everyone likes being complimented. So that's, yeah.
Great. Thank you, Joe. So look, you went to Bristol Old Vic. So let's start just before then at school and talk to us about your 5 or 6 years, from school and throughout the drama school years.
So I actually applied for Bristol first because I was like, I'm definitely not going to get in there because everyone had told me that firstly they only take 12, and also they mainly want people like 25 up, like who have lived a bit, done a degree and stuff like that. But I've managed to, the year I applied, there was a rule change or something where if you've got a degree, you can't do a 3-year, which I think is still in place now. So they had to take 18-year-olds. So there was a bunch of us that were quite young, and the years above us were way older and much more experienced. And we got there, these like tadpoles, and we were just like, oh my gosh, they're so good. And how are we gonna do this? Like, I grew this horrible little beard just to make myself look older. I just did A-levels. and I had a good teacher like you guys, so I was lucky, who was very passionate about it, and also we had like quite a good like facilities there. They just sort of built a new theatre there and stuff, and we did Hamlet, and I think I was so frustrated at home and a bit hormonal and angsty that actually that's probably the best performance I've ever given, was that, because I was just like about everything, yeah. Then I went to drama school. Agent I got from my showcase, my drama school showcase.
Okay.
He was just hovering, looking kind of seductive against a wall, and yeah.
That's great. We're actually going to do a question about agents later on, so it'd be really good to pick up on that later on. Thank you very much, Luke. Ruby, your story, please.
Well, I always feel a bit guilty about my story because it's so both my parents are actors, so I grew up with it round the house, so it was always something I wanted to do. I also went to National Youth Theatre at 14. Like Luke, did the sort of summer course, and then they didn't want me for the plays. And then when I then did a BTEC at college, and then started applying for drama schools, and I applied for 6 the first year and didn't get very far through the rounds, and then applied again the next year to 10 drama schools the next year, which costs a fortune, but so start saving up. And then I got further in the rounds, like to some of them I got to like the last rounds and stuff, but then I didn't get in again. And I was about to be going and starting applying for my 3rd round of auditions for drama school, but nepotism stepped in, and I got an agent via my mum and started auditioning at the same time as I would have been auditioning for my 3rd years of drama school. I started auditioning as well, and I got a couple of telly jobs, and then this play at the National, which they were these connections plays which they write for young people. They're like little hour ones, and I did that instead. And then so many people came to see that, so many casting directors and agents and everything came to see that kind of thing, that it felt like that was enough of a showcase not to then reapply for drama school. And then when I got a few more jobs under my belt, I then left my mum's agent because I didn't want to sort of be just a favour, and then start working from there.
Amazing. Thank you, Ruby. Natalie and Kieran, please.
Yeah. So I did school. I did drama at school and all the school plays, and was a bit of a nerd. And then I did National Youth Theatre. I think I did my course when I was maybe 15 or 16, which is like 2 weeks that you do in London. Best 2 weeks. Not the best 2 weeks of my life. I didn't know you yet. But like two of the best weeks, because you're suddenly, like Luke was saying, like everyone around you is as much of a geek about it as you are, and you've got 2 weeks to do stuff which honestly it's like mind-blowing, to be able to work with people on one very basic level, people from all over the country. So people that are not from your specific demographic or anything like that, which is really exciting. I'm an associate at the National Youth Theatre, and I strongly recommend it, and I'm happy to talk about it at another day if anyone has any questions or interested about application, etc. So yeah, I did that, and then I sort of got to a point where I was like, I felt like, because I'd done these plays at Soho Theatre, I did every summer I was doing a play there, and I got my first agent through that, because a lot of agents and casting directors come and see those shows, because there is something in the business which is a little bit like, what's the new hot young thing? So they're constantly going, not just to drama school, but you get great showcases at National Youth Theatre. So from that point of view, it's a great training. Then I went to LAMDA, did a foundation year there, which was expensive, and I think it still is. But I was lucky that I then got a scholarship to do my 3 years. And I applied for other drama schools after the foundation year, but LAMDA was the one that I still wanted to go to. And the training was brilliant there. I think it's in some ways it's probably even better, like the building, the amount of money that they pumped into it. I'm sure we might be coming onto this stuff later, Matt, but yeah, loved that. And changed agents when I was there. I got a different agent, and from there, one of the things I loved about drama school, and the thing, I mean, I'm sure we'll talk about this a lot, is that, you know, some actors that I know that didn't go to drama school think that you've learned that you learned the secret of acting at drama school, and that there's always this feeling that they have where it's like, if only I'd gone. These are really, really brilliant, versatile actors, and so often I say, like, you didn't need to go. Like, the main thing about drama school is you get 3 or 4 years, 2 to 4 years of practicing, where low stakes, you know, where it doesn't matter if you fail or whatever. And I think that, you know, not going down that route, you maybe, if you have the opportunities to go and do your first play at the National, for example, like Ruby, I guess that means that the stakes are a little bit higher, but like, you learn on the job, and you learn so much from actually working with other actors and older actors, and you constantly, like, you know, you're learning consistently throughout your career, or at least you should be, and if you keep your mind open, then you will be. So I think I wouldn't say that is the route that you must go to if you want to have a great career. Definitely not. But it's, you know, we had one teacher at drama school who said, you learn the most on your feet, and I think that it gives you that chance. So yeah,
definitely. The school that I went to, we didn't have a great drama or theatre department. We didn't do any plays, really. I did do drama, GCSE and A-level, but we had, I think one of our teachers left halfway through. We got a different teacher, and we all failed one of our modules because she got some information wrong. But I think it's quite a good thing to say, just in the way that then when I was applying to drama schools, I was really embarrassed to put down, I think I got a C or a D in my, like, drama studies. And I thought, well, they're never going to let me in. I've got this grade. And it didn't make it, you know, it did make a bit of difference. So yeah, as I said, went to LAMDA, did the foundation course, and then did the 3-year course, and was lucky enough to get my agent from the showcases in the final year.
So hi, I'm Ema. I'm in year 11. I'd say I'm mostly interested in screen acting, but I also love plays. And I think the most recent performance I've done that I really enjoyed was when I played Alex in A Clockwork's Orange. But yeah, apart from that, let me ask my question. So my question is threefold. What are the relative pros and cons of each possible route? How did you decide on your route? And if you had your time again, would you choose a different one?
Ooh. Yeah, interesting. I suppose I would, starting with, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely wouldn't choose a different one, even though I think at the time I didn't quite want to take the route that I took, if that makes sense. But because, and as I think Kieran put it really well in his answer before about how you get so much from learning as you work, but you also get, but then you have quite high stakes, but then you get so much from learning at drama school. And I would say that, yeah, university, you get a chance to, it's less, it is useful in terms of acting training, because you get a chance to work with people your own age, and there are sort of no rules. And in my experience, I was at university with Mr. Bulmer, and everyone took it so incredibly seriously that it was good training for the real industry, because it was exactly the same. We believed that the University Drama Society was the same as the National Theatre. Yeah, and so it sort of felt like the same thing, but on a smaller scale. but you don't, have the benefit of amazing teachers. You're learning from each other, so you don't have the benefit of someone who can lead you. But I think also you get a chance to explore other stuff, which I wasn't particularly interested in at university. My degree, I didn't concentrate very much on, because all I wanted to do was act. But the people I met and the sort of the fact that it's not 100% acting, I think was quite good for me. I think my dad sort of knew that in a way that I didn't. He probably saw that I was already obsessed and insane, so it wouldn't hurt for me to go and meet someone who wasn't as insane. But so, yeah, I mean, it's difficult to say the exact pros and cons. They sort of all have them. I suppose the best we can do is try and describe our experience, and then it's up to you to work out what you feel would be right for you.
I always think it was good for me that I didn't get into drama school. I always now look back on, because when I was about 18 or 19, I looked about 13. So my first couple of jobs were playing incredibly young, because they like getting someone who can play much younger to play, so they don't have to have like a chaperone and things. And I sort of think if I'd have gone to drama school and come out as a 21-year-old alongside 10 other girls who looked like me at 21, I wouldn't have had that advantage of, you literally, the first 5 years was playing children. And in fact, I think I'm finding it harder now when I'm now in a group of more, I'm now sort of early 30s, and that's sort of a harder, there's so many of them where, like, look, if you look really young, it could be a real advantage. So I always think that was a real advantage for me to just get straight in.
Yeah. I sort of feel like for me, it was really useful that I went to drama school, that I got in and went to drama school, because I knew nothing about acting or the industry. I literally came home one night from uni and went, I want to be an actor, which was really weird.
Didn't you ask your mum for an agent?
Oh yeah, I asked my mum for an agent, but she couldn't sort me out. But I didn't know anything about the industry, so I went on quite a steep learning curve. So it was a great way just to immerse right into the world, read plays, watch movies, and meet such a huge part of it. I guess whether you're going to drama school or whether you choose the other route, is meeting actors and getting to chat about, and like you said and Joe said, you're having that in common, and it's just a really wonderful time. The other thing I kind of want to say is that there's a feeling, I feel with acting, that everything needs to be now. It's the same when you're applying for drama schools, or you're wanting to get an agent, or you feel like, I want it now, it has to happen now, and it feels like, but if you can, and if you don't get into drama school straight away, or you want to choose a different route, just know that it's okay if it isn't all happening straight away, that's okay.
Yeah, that's really important advice, actually. And I think certainly, and you guys might disagree with me, there is a perhaps feeling, this instant gratification, the need to do the next thing straight away, which I see in school quite a lot, and often with the younger students, but I think you guys can appreciate that as an observation. But actually, the bigger industry, it's not, I'm doing that, so I'll start tomorrow. It might be, and is likely to be, a few years before things really perhaps find traction.
And I think that's a good point with drama schools and university, because it can feel like when you don't get in, can be like, oh, is that because I'm not good enough or something? But I think sometimes it is because they realize that it wouldn't be right for you. If you're applying for, because each drama school has its own identity as well, and each university does, and each course. And rather than, I mean, it could be that you just didn't work hard enough, but also it could easily be that they can see what you've got, but I think when I didn't get into drama school, and I remember them saying in the final round, some of you, it might be because we think that you wouldn't suit our way of training, or it wouldn't be right for you. So that is a big part of it too. It's not as black and white as this is the best actor, this is the worst actor, and that sort of thing, because it just doesn't exist.
I definitely was, in terms of university for me, I think my parents were keen for me to go, and I just knew it wasn't for me. I was like, I know that I will be restless and that all I want to be doing is getting on with acting now. I think probably having done the amount of MIT that I'd done, I was like, I don't really want to, even though I know that it would have been an amazing time. I think that, when we were all going through that process, it was a different time in terms of like fees. So you could, if you wanted to, it was much more affordable to do 2 degrees, whereas it's not now. So yeah, I think it really is, a lot of it I think is down to a gut instinct, and what you feel is right for you. Occasionally you see people. I remember there was one guy who had done I knew him from school, and he went to uni, did MIT, and then he did a foundation year at RADA. And after that, he went, right, I'm done. I'm going to the business. I'm going to the industry. But he hadn't had the sufficient showcase that he needed. You don't get that from doing a foundation year. I think he'd done one show at NYT. Again, that was quite a few years before. And it's hard to go kind of point blank in, without, like you say, like who you know. If you don't have that exposure, it's hard to manifest it. But having said that, you get people who have the whereabouts to sometimes, if, for example, like there's some guys in my year who didn't get an agent, and they were very much like, kind of, everyone was like, oh, it's going to be hard for them, leaving without an agent. And they actually had been doing a lot of kind of extracurricular stuff when we were at drama school, taking shows in Edinburgh every year. And they created the franchise, The Play That Goes Wrong. And they are literally millionaires. It was like, there's something to be said, I think, for actually like when things don't go your way and you go, all right then, I'm gonna bounce back from it, because as I'm sure Mr. Bulmer has said, like this industry really, really does test you, and you're constantly getting knocked. And a friend of mine who's an actor said, it's a bit cheesy, but he said, if you can't take a punch, don't be a boxer, and if you can't take rejection, don't be an actor. I think there is an element of that, and you have to be really thick-skinned to know that if you don't get a big job that you go for, it's not necessarily, it's for a whole plethora of reasons that are out of your control. But it doesn't feel like that when you get that rejection. It feels horrible, and you still have to pick yourself up and go to the next audition.
Hi, I'm Alex. I actually want to be a film director, but I'm trying to get information about everything. So I want to get the whole acting experience, backstage, everything, so I know everything. But here's my question for you. So when you were at the start of your journey, did you attend specific courses or workshops or do any work experience that helped to develop or gain any crucial experience or contacts, basically any key experiences that you would have had when you were our age that helped to define your ambitions?
Well, I can start with it was when I was 16 and I wrote I wrote lots of letters to lots of directors that I could just find. I don't know how I chose them, but there was one who called Pip Franks, who happened to be doing a production of Nicholas Nickleby in Chichester. And most people either didn't reply or said, no, sorry. I've got one actually pinned on my wall. There's a director called Howard Davies who died 2 years ago. He replied saying, no, that's not how it works. But it's pinned on my board because I loved it. But Pip Franks said, yes. And he sort of said, yeah, I don't really know what you'll do, but you can come to the technical rehearsal if you want. And that was I don't know if there was specific, I think there probably were specific things, but I can't really remember them, but mainly just the feeling of being allowed into the behind the scenes on a play. It was just so inspiring. And all the actors, like I'm still friends with some of them. There's a guy, Rob Hasty, who I met there, who's now in charge of Sheffield. But they just seeing them sort of come off the stage. I remember the first sitting there really nervous in the auditorium, and then all the actors came in and they just put their costumes on for the first time, and they're all sort of laughing and came and sat next to me. And I'd never really seen, because I'd only ever seen them up on the stage, and suddenly they were like coming off the stage into it and stuff like that. And then you do see the sort of technical workings of it.
Amazing.
But I think it was more the feeling of the circus that was great.
Amazing. Okay.
Is it me?
Yes.
Because my career is sort of in two halves, of which something I haven't mentioned is that I did some child acting when I was like 10 to about 14. But I haven't really mentioned that because I don't think it's very useful for any of you, really.
Yeah.
But that chapter, I'd done a TV series, and the producers on that, I emailed them and said, because everyone was just going to like Marks and Spencer's to do their work experience and stuff, and I really, really wanted to do something that was useful to me. The producer said I could go and do work experience on a series called New Tricks, which was about like the older cops, detectives. So I spent like I think I spent a week doing that. But that's such luck that I had that contact, because I don't know. It was only through that job that happened. But I worked on every department. I worked on lighting and wardrobe and making the tea, and basically getting in people's eye lines, which is really terrifying with the stature of those actors. You just don't get in their eye lines ever. But obviously I was like, well, I must learn everything and just absorb everything, and being like just off camera, like someone's in someone's eyes. So I made lots of brilliantly bad mistakes on that, which then I could, even though I'd been on a film set, which was ridiculous. I learned lots on doing that, and it was really, 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 really fun. And then I also did, talking about directing, because at that time I really didn't know if I would be an actor, really, and I really wasn't sure if I could carry on and just become something. So that's partly why I went to drama school, because I wanted to start again in a way. But I did a course at the New York Film Academy. I think they still do them in London. And it was like a 2-week intensive course on filmmaking. And we got to, make a short film and learn about lighting and stuff. And that was really useful at that point, because I didn't know if I wanted to be a DOP maybe at that stage. And also I did an A-level in film and video, which was like practical filmmaking. Which is the reason I left my really bad school and went to college in town to do film and video, because it was practical filmmaking rather than film studies, which is also really interesting. But I wanted to make stuff, and we made like 4 short films, terrible short, a week, which was really good. Yeah.
Yeah, hi, I'm Beth. I'm more interested in acting, or anything really. If I can get into the theatre, I'll literally do whatever. And my question is, do you feel like actors should take courses for backstage work? Do they have an appreciation for all parts of the theatre or TV and film? And do you think this is beneficial for young actors, or do you think we should just focus on acting if that's what we want to do?
Is this, can I answer?
Please do.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the more you know about everyone's role, the better. The same with the young woman who wants to be a director that you were just talking about. I think it's amazing to be doing, if you're wanting to be a director, to have some classes in acting, to know what it's like. And I think that goes right across the board for everything. The more that you can understand about behind the camera, backstage, the better, because you're all working together in whatever project or production you're creating. And I think it gives you just an even greater sense of your job and what you're doing, and just a mutual appreciation for everyone in the industry. So I think you can't go wrong with that.
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm in year 11 and I'm more interested in acting, and after school I think I want to take a year out, so I want to maybe do some drama courses and just see if it's the one I want to go into.
But my question is, when deciding to have a career in performance, what were the setbacks you had and how did you overcome them?
Well, I mean, you know, one of the setbacks that you can have is just not getting into drama school, and you know, and auditioning and not getting into places that you want to get into, and that's just really hard, like early on. But like I said before, really, some of the best actors are the ones who you go, that is absolutely inexplicable that you didn't get in and you tried 2 years. Like Ruby, you know, we've got mates who you're like, they're amazing. So it just shows you that I think to be able to come back from anything like that shows a hell of a lot of resilience, and I think is maybe like a good starting point. In terms of particular knockbacks, like that was it for me. Like I remember being hit hard by, you know, when the letter would land on your parents' doorstep and doormat, they don't just leave it outside. When you'd read that and it was a rejection, that's just hard, and that's one thing I'd say.
Yeah, and if I can add on that this feels like it almost feels like an unbelievable thing to say, but the lessons from those formative years are the lessons we're still having to carry and deal with now. The rejection of jobs, it's as much, if not more, a part of being an actor is actually getting to act. Is being able to handle it and deal with it. We have quite a good rule that was suggested to us by friends, which is if you don't get the job, or likely you can apply it to, if you don't get into drum school or a course or whichever route you want to go down, you kind of can give yourself 24 hours to be really annoyed, and then the next day you have to try and get on with it and get over it.
And when I didn't get into drama school the first year, so then you're sort of left with this year of going, what are you going to do with your life? I found there's this, like, I think it was via the stage, which I don't even think is, I think maybe it's online now, but I found like a tour, like a 3-person tour of old people's homes, and we went in like a car, the 3 of us, and went around Nottingham for like a month or so, touring this terrible play. But it was, you know, I just found that via a newspaper and auditioned for it, and, you know, I don't know, in terms of kind of, you know, no one would have seen it in terms of it furthering my career, but to then come back a year later for drama school the second year, I'm going, you know, I've done this year, I've learned loads on it, and I also did like short courses. I did some at like the City Lit, and then there's the Actors Centre as well, where if you just want to keep your hand in, even not for sort of it getting you a result at the end, it's just purely for you feeling like you're doing something and keeping motivated for then, you know, to apply the next year or find a different way in.
Like taking your time and waiting for because there were certain drama schools that I didn't get into, a lot that I didn't get into, but they were usually the ones that I went there and I just didn't like the atmosphere. I didn't like it there for whatever reason. There were a couple that I was waiting for them to put whether we got recalls on the wall, and I was just like, yeah, please not me, please not me. No, I haven't got a recall, and I was out the door like quicker than that, you know, and so I didn't get in because they weren't obviously right, but you get a feeling for them, I think. And if you can, like a year out, to wait for somewhere that you really want to go and that you feel is the right place for you and the right training, and like Ruby said, just doing life stuff and learning new things, there's never wasted time. I don't think there's not, and you only get to really start your career once, I think. So like take your time to pick that right thing if it doesn't feel right.
I think that's true. I got onto this course that after the 10 I got applied, and then I got onto this one that was like a community theatre course, and I was like, oh, I've applied, I should take it now, I've got it. And then I thought about it, and I was like, I don't want to do that course actually, and I so nearly took it because that was the only place I'd got into, and I was like, well, I've been accepted to this one, I'd better do it. And I would have spent 3 years doing a course I didn't want to do, so I'm glad I didn't take it. But it was so close, because when you get constant rejection, to get one person going, oh yeah, come to us, you're like, oh, I should take it. But like you say, wait, you don't need to do everything at 18.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice.
I had more than 8, so for me, drama was mostly like a growing up process. It was. I'm really glad I did it. It was really useful, voice and everything like that, and it was a bit like boot camp. But for me, I couldn't make beans on toast. Like I was just, it was. I could by the end of it, but it was. A year would have been absolutely fine. But it felt at that time very much like got to go now, got to make it now, got to do all this, and looking back, you've got time.
Yeah, so I think that's really, again, it's not a rush, and also it's a really good point there. Where you choose to go next, whenever that might be, is your choice. Yes, people are choosing you and then offering places to you, but it's your choice, and it's really important to wait and make the right choice.
Hi, I'm Rosie. I'm in 5th year at school, and I really love being on the stage acting, but I also have really found like a passion in being behind the stage and directing things. And I'm not sure what I want to do in terms of career-wise after uni. So my question to you is, how did you get the courage to make the jump to pursue a career in such a competitive industry?
Actually, also sort of a bit to do with Abby's question as well. At the beginning, I remember, I think I had some kind of weird urge to be an actor that was kind of overwhelming from when I was 16, just like that isn't necessarily logical. But also I remember being quite worried about it because I thought maybe it was quite selfish. And I even wrote a letter to my hero at the time, Kenneth Branagh. I'm not a huge fan of his anymore, but I wrote to him to say a really long letter saying, "Dear Mr. Branagh, I love your work. You're a great actor. I want to be an actor too, but I'm worried that I should maybe do something more important with my life because I have the opportunity. I've been to a good school and I could, but there's something in me that means that I have to be an actor. And how do you deal with the fact that is acting selfish, or is it and he never replied. It's a shame, but I came to terms with it and thinking, like, I think I just love it so much that I wouldn't be happy doing anything else. I think and I think that, well, my dad's advice was always like the best way to choose your career is to find the thing that you love most and see if you can make money out of it.
Yes.
Or make a living anyway, not be rich, but survive on it.
And I think we've seen that sort of across the panel is, clearly the five actors here, despite the setbacks and the need for resilience, have had such a drive and a passion to get to where they've got to. So I think courage is incredibly important, and being prepared to face setbacks and to develop that resilience. But I think underpinning all of that is this intense desire and drive to get to that end point, which, I'm sure you five go, oh, I'm miles away from that still, but I've had a great time getting to where I am right now.
Yeah, and almost to the point where, because so often people's advice when you say I want to be an actor is don't be an actor. And I think that really is quite good advice, because anyone who hears it and then decides not to be shouldn't be, because you have to be, I think you have to be the kind of who hears that and goes, yeah, but I'm going to be an actor though, anyway. And on a side note, I don't think you need to choose between acting and directing yet, if ever. You can definitely do. Lots of people do both.
Yeah.
And one informs the other so well. I think if you have, if you're directing, acting, then it really forces you to go, what do I think is good acting, and why do I think that, and what process am I taking these actors through to get there? And I should now follow that process myself and not cut corners, which is quite easy sometimes when you're an actor to go, I'm going to do this thing because I've done this before, or I'll do that, So I think it's great not to choose between the two.
Definitely.
I remember you having that moment. Maybe last year or 2 years ago, we met in the pub and you'd just been directing something and you were like, I've forgotten what acting is. And I remember what acting is. You were like, I'm going to read The Actor and the Target again. It's so good.
That is totally true. I think it is. It's a profession where you are constantly learning. You're learning from everyone. You're learning from people younger than you, older than you, and you're constantly evolving. If you're open to that, some people, of course, aren't. But I think it's really amazing job if you just are desperate to do it and you love it.
And okay. Well, no, just like it's in terms of specifically courage. Like it is to get out in front of 1,000 people or however many people it is, or to do a take when full well that 9 million people are going to end up watching it, something like that. Like you have to. There's a strange balance constantly before auditions, or just like it's kind of a battle, I think, between ego and humility and huge overconfidence and absolute has he got it, and he's so insecure, and then the minute he says yeah it was great, you just see him instantly then go, I'm the best actor in the world. And that's life of an actor. You're constantly going, I'm the worst actor in the world, no, I'm the best. And you have to at times believe you're the best and overcome the fear that you're the worst. And the fact of the matter is most of the time you're neither, but you have to kind of grapple with those in order.
Sure. Hi, I'm Neo. I'm in year 12 and I want to go to drama school, and I'm really, really interested in theatre mainly. My question is, has your career choice always been financially stable?
I'm Will. I'm in the same year, lower sixth, and I don't know what I'd like to pursue, but I'm going to go down the uni path. A boring office job seems quite linear and black and white, whereas the arts, there's so much turbulence. How do you make a career in the arts sustainable?
Okay, so looking at the sort of financial side of the decisions that you've made over the last 10 years, obviously we don't need details, but just general advice and sort of reflections.
If you can have
you go, Jay.
If you can have a practical skill, like if you can, go and do something that you quite like doing when you're not acting, but that is actually like really useful. Like I don't know, if you could train in something like being get experience doing bricklaying or something like that, I think that's really good, because sometimes when you come off a job and you go, then you're looking, if you've got nothing coming up and you're looking for a job, it's probably chances are that you're going to be getting something which is quite low paid if you're not skilled in something else. So that would be a good investment, I think, of time.
Yeah, definitely. It feels like that was definitely one of the things at drama school, and they said, you should have something else that you can do alongside. And I thought, not going to need that, babes. And definitely have, and still don't have that other skill. So if you can find something that can work nicely alongside, also something that's equally rewarding, then that will help in terms of pursuing what you want to pursue. Because I think especially within acting, if you're doing a job you're really hating, there's not to do with acting, I think it makes it harder to get the next acting job, because you end up putting more pressure on that. And so yeah, I agree with Kieran.
But it's quite tough, isn't it, to find what that job is, because
Definitely.
it has to be something that's completely flexible alongside the acting. So I've always done waiting, which is not well paid and like, can you say, completely demoralizing sometimes when you're like, this isn't what I want to be doing, and you're doing it forever. So, but it's that tricky one. Like you think bricklaying is a good one. I think people do like being electricians quite good. So something that is skill based and not just being, a server sort of thing. But trying to fit that into also acting is the sort of tough question, isn't it?
It's the $1 million question, isn't it? If you can work that out, you're sorted, really.
Yeah.
It's the make hay when the sun shines. That's the thing. It's so hard to do, but when you're getting well paid for an acting job, save it.
Save it.
Boring dad advice. No, just every night when you got it, spend it. But
Joe, you've got a good second job. You sometimes do.
What's that? What, voiceovers?
Well, no, you're reading scripts.
Oh yeah, actually that's true. Yeah, so that was just completely lucky that I happened to a producer that I worked with met me when I was saying I was going to go and get a job in a bookshop, and she said I could read. They are always looking for new stories, so I read. Well, I don't anymore, but I did for a bit when they weren't all furloughed. Oh God. Anyway, read books for them and then do reports saying if I thought it would be a good TV show or not. But I suppose, in a way, the answer to your question, how to make acting financially viable, is sort of, or if you can, is sort of that you can't really go into it hoping for money. It's in that you can end up making loads of money, I suppose. People do, but it sort of is always going to be a challenge rather than a bonus, if that does that make sense, rather than unless I mean, voiceovers is a thing that I know lots of actors do, and it's almost annoying. Like, you can be paid more for doing an hour saying like "come to Boots" than you can for doing 6 months at the RSC.
But that's also incredibly competitive as well, and hard to get an agent for and things as well.
Yeah, true.
Hi, I'm Chloe. I'm also a little bit undecided on what I want to do, but I'm quite interested in like the film and TV sort of side, whether that's production or performing. But in terms of performing, how do you overcome nerves when performing, and what are the best ways to gain confidence?
So this is a straight up technique question. What tips do we have, Chloe, please?
I feel like I'm still dealing with nerves all the time. It's just an ongoing process of dealing with nerves, I think. I think the more work you do, the more confident you can. I did my first professional Shakespeare job a year ago, and I was absolutely terrified because I just didn't. I didn't know what I was doing, and and it was a year contract, and I was really, really nervous. But how I feel about Shakespeare, the other side of it, is completely different to starting. So I guess doing the job just gave me that confidence, and now I don't think about Shakespeare in the same way as I did before I did the job. It's not this big terrifying thing anymore. So I guess that, I don't know if that's helpful, really.
I think for you, it's very much a case of, we've spoken about this before, is the more you do, the easier it becomes. Sort of committing to more. Committing to more. Yeah.
There's always going to be nerves as well. There's always going to be, how do you? I mean, there are loads of practical things you can do for nerves. I mean, you could go to town and have, I don't know.
What, Luke?
I don't know. Like, just because sometimes when you have to get into a bit of a swing. I find it a bit of a swing of auditioning and stuff. And a lot of it is obviously self-tape now, where I don't get nervous in the same sense doing self-tape because it's just you in a room on your own. But if you're going into a room with like 10 TV execs, that's absolutely terrifying, and you have to really do your best. You can only really do your best work when you're not. Sometimes it's so useful to be nervous as well, though.
Yeah.
Like nerves are energy. Like they give you. When you get halfway through a theatre run and you're not nervous, you're like begging to be terrified again. Anything to just give you that kind of energy, if you know how to channel it, which I still don't really know. I'd love to be one of those actors that can really harness nerves into delivering something that's really powerful and interesting. But
it's fine when you're playing someone nervous. I find it's great when you're playing someone nervous, because then you are nervous. But when you're playing someone who's really cool and collected, the first night's horrible, because your hand is literally shaking, and which is fine if you're going, "Hi, I'm Nervy Nick." That's one of my great roles.
Playing Nervy Nick. That's why, because I'm nervous.
I think also just being as on your lines as possible. I know that's like a really obvious thing to say, but with filming and with auditions, like often with auditions, they give you it so late on, so in a way you can't be that on your lines, but you've got to just cram them into your head, because if they're in, that whole part of the nerves will go, and because that's what goes first often with nerves, isn't it? Your lines go. And the same with filming often is quite a quick turnaround, and you're getting stuff, and you just have to work really, really hard on your lines, and if you're on top of them, it's less nerve-wracking.
We had a teacher at drama school who said, the work is your armor, and it's so true. More like, even when you're in a scene and you're crapping your pants or whatever, like if you hold on to, you know, your intention, your objective, or, you know, specifically, like especially with screen acting, like looking in the eyes of your fellow actor and like losing yourself in the scene. You know, sometimes it's easy to say that, but I think the more you throw yourself into the reality of the scene that you're playing, for example, the less likely you are to allow, you know, the nerves, if you've done the right work. I would say probably the closest thing I've had to stage fright maybe about a year and a bit ago, and it was absolutely horrible. And I was doing a play, and a lot of it was me talking directly to the audience, and I was thinking about all the wrong things. I was thinking about, you know, the fact that we were going to be having, like, starting a family. We needed this, like trying to change agents, trying to do, you know, all of these different things which were not about the scene. They were not about, it was about who's in, who's watching me, rather than about what is this I'm literally, my character is trying to do. What is this, you know, scene, or what's this story that I'm telling? And the minute that you start thinking about all of that and that and that and that, then that's when the nerves can really kind of take over you in a way, and it's really horrible. So, sorry.
No, carry on.
Oh no, that was it really. So, just
I just say that nerves can like pop up when you least expect them. Like, I was doing a play a year ago, and we'd actually done it for a year, and so there weren't any nerves left really. You just did the show, but at one show I had to fall over, and I didn't fall over in the same way I'd done it 1,000 times. I sort of fell in the wrong place, and you know. And the actor who was on the stage with me, I turned around to say my next line, and she was completely upturned. She turned her back on the audience and was just like, like it just really tickled her, and she was crying, and she had this ridiculous wig on. It was just, everything was just terrible about it. And we had really bad corpsing, which always sounds like, oh, how funny, and it was torture, absolute torture. And every night then, for the rest of the run, that scene became absolutely impossible, to the point where we were on the phone going, I think we're going to have to talk to the director and cut it, because we can't do it. We couldn't do it. I was like pacing up and down with Rescue Remedy before I was going, because I was so terrified of losing it, because we couldn't speak, and that was Shakespeare, and we couldn't, like, it's another example of nerves for you.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I am leaving school this year. I want to be an opera singer, so it's a bit different. But yeah, I got into music school, and that's where I'm going next year, hopefully. And my question is, how do you get an agent, and how important are they? That's it.
How you get one, I suppose there are lots of different ways, and it may be different in the opera world, but definitely showcases at drama school and showcases the National Youth Theatre do, and inviting them to see you in things. I mean, there's a million and more. Writing letters to them, if you don't have a showcase, but if you're doing some kind of performance, writing to them is very important. And I'd say they are very important, unless you're, I mean, Mark Rylance doesn't have one, and Bill Murray, but unless you're mega famous. I think they're really important, and your relationship with your agent is really important.
Mm-hmm.
We all complain about our agents constantly. I think that's our main hobby, and wondering whether or not we should change agents. Sorry?
Nothing else to do.
But the more you can, it does feel. I've been with my agent for my whole career since 2012, and it feels like a marriage in that it's better when I'm better at communicating with them. And I haven't always been. I feel like I'm getting better at it, but because it's a weird relationship where you feel like they're your boss, even though you're they work for you, but you feel like they're in charge of you, particularly when you're younger, but you're paying their wages sort of, so it's difficult. But I'd say, yeah, they're your routine. They're really important, but it's really important to try and find one that you can have a good relationship with, I think.
Is there are there any opera singers that you know of that you really like their careers? It's quite a good thing. I mean, you'll probably be doing this in is it a 3-year course or a
4?
A 4-year. So probably in your coming up to that, your teachers will talk to you about everything. But it's quite good to keep an eye out and see the singers, the type of work that you want to do, and look at those singers that are doing the type of work you want to do, and then see who their agent is, and see. That's quite a good way of seeing what might be right for you.
Yeah, you can go. Are opera singers on Spotlight and things? You know,
I think they are. If there's crossover, they are. I think it depends on the person.
Because there's a way. Can you get like a code and get like all your opera singers who you like and try and find out who their agents are, like you were saying? But there's you can sort of sneakily sometimes find lists, and then just find out who the ones are who you want to try and get with.
It's just difficult because people are from loads of different countries, so I'm like not sure if I need like someone who knows things in like Italy or somewhere else.
Yeah. So my friend is an opera singer, and I think she's got an agent in like Italy and UK and somewhere. I think you have like, you can have like international agents, I think. Okay. You can look her up because she's amazing. She's called Susanna Hurrell. Okay. Maybe there's some details online.
So again, I think, obviously we've learned that Joe writes 20 letters a week, but it's being proactive and really getting yourself out there as soon as possible. I have a question, because this is more to do with Hannah than the rest of the guys, but if you have a really strong showreel in place, is it worth getting these sent out now, or is it something just to keep building and to hold back?
I mean, this is a conversation that I think we all I'm still wondering about that. I don't know the effect showreels have.
I think they're invaluable in terms of for actors, definitely. I'm not sure about for opera singers, but I think in terms of like when to do it, I don't think there's any harm, especially if you're going to go and do a 4-year course. Why wouldn't you send them out? And it means that then you might have a relationship with someone or pre-existing before you kind of leave, which probably wouldn't be any harm, or at least even if you met an agent or something and then go and do your 4 years, you can go, hey, do you remember me? Which is something actually I did when I did NYT. I did meet, I met some agents when I was 17, and then I went off and did drama school, and then I had another agent, and then you were able to say, oh hi, yeah, I've gone and done the 4 years now, and you have that connection. I think that might be quite a good thing to do.
Okay, I think, Hannah, for you that's probably quite easy to do, and it needs to be done before you leave school, obviously, because there's so much stuff we can put together. Okay, thanks guys, that was really... Oh, sorry, Ruby, sorry, go on.
I just have one other point about agents. I think often, if you do get one, that doesn't necessarily mean that's who you're going to be with forever. And if you want a better one, keep writing letters, like sneakily. Don't just be like, oh, thank you so much, you're my agent now. If you want more, and they're not getting you enough, you've got to keep doing the work, it doesn't just stop once you get an agent. You have to keep writing the letters and writing to casting directors and inviting new agents to come and see work. So don't feel too loyal to anyone. It's a business.
Hello. I am in year 13 and I'm into the musical theatre side of things. So this year I've been auditioning and I got a few callbacks, but I didn't get in anywhere. So I'm having a gap year and I'm re-auditioning, and I'm going to try and get some experience somehow, whether that's like local pantomimes at Christmas or whatever I can get, really. So my question is, what are the main differences between working for the stage and working for screen? And are there any skills that are used in one more than the other?
Good question. Does anyone? I suppose. Go on, Luke.
I think a couple of you, Bethany and sorry, my screen. Chloe, I think you mentioned wanting to do screen, because I was the same. I was really, really, really into film when I was doing my A-levels. Well, I did that A-level, and I loved the whole idea of acting full screen and the process of filmmaking from all departments and stuff, and that really interested me. And I remember thinking, oh, should I train somewhere that's like for screen? And I think I'm quite I don't know, I think really a training in theatre will set you up for, because screen, it always surprises me if I do a screen job and I get back onto that job, how technical it is and how stilted it all is. And actually it's just about being in focus, and if you don't hit your mark, if you don't get to that sausage on the floor, then you've messed up the shot. And it's always just so technical and weird, that a training in stage will set you up for both. I'm not sure I'm actually answering the question now, though.
Well, I suppose leading on from that, I suppose the acting is, in some ways, it's the same. The acting is the same, but just with a different technical hat on. So, like, theatre involves more projection and stagecraft, sort of knowing where to stand, kind of, and that sort of technical side. And then you're still sort of doing the same kind of thing at heart, but then on a film set. I find the filming thing much harder, partly because it's all out of order. I feel like you have to do a lot more work on your own for screen, whereas theatre, you're kind of you're a team, and you start on day one with everyone, with backstage crew as well, and you all work on it gradually together. Whereas film, everyone else has been working before the actor turns up, and they're a team, and you turn up and are expected to be ready to go. Which I find really scary. I'd like a sort of 4-week-long chat before we do any acting is ideal, rather than just go. But yeah, definitely theatre is sort of voice work is more useful, and screen staying still work is more useful. I don't know, not blinking work. That my first job, they kept telling me off for blinking, and then I got the worst thing you could be told when you're blinking a lot is not to blink, because then there were takes that were either like the whole thing like that or just constant blinking.
And licking your lips, I do that all the time on a self tape, and I watch it back and go, oh, I'm gonna have to do the whole thing again, because I was like the whole way through it. And it's so they say, don't they, that the theatre is the actor's medium, like whatever performance you give that night is totally your performance. You're in control of what you do. It's unedited. It's completely, whereas our performances in film and TV don't really belong to us. We can do what we can, and then it's up to the editor to make it, like, you can completely change a performance in the edit. And it's weird, like you think you're in your trailer going, oh, I think I might do this, and like I must make some like exciting choices and do that, and then you get on set and you go, what, and everyone's just laughing at you, and at the end, and it just all goes out the window, because you're just trying to, you know, get the line at work. So you're looking at a bit of tape over there, and you know, and on just the technicalness of it, whereas stage is very much like it's more your
it's you.
It feels like
it's more your.
But film should be you as well, though. It's a hard thing, isn't it? I don't know.
You can lean into the fact that you know the editor is ultimately going to be picking it, and something I enjoy doing a lot is doing like varying the performance from take to take. So like not trying to just replicate what I did the last time, but if you get another go, do it completely differently. And there was a brilliant actor, Jonathan Slinger, he's done a lot of theatre, but he pops up in TV and film a lot more now. And he's played like all the leads at the RSC for years. And I was chatting to him once about the difference between screen acting and stage acting. And he said that there was a real turning point for him when he realised that he used to think that when they said action on set, that you had to give it like it's press night. Press night is like the opening night of the show when everyone's going to be in. You've got to give your best version of it now. And he said he realised actually when they say action, the best way to think of it is it's what you would do in rehearsals in the theatre. So you find your way through it, and it creates an amazing amount of freedom because it means that you know that you can actually go and do it again. Whereas if you are doing press night, like the way you do it that night is the way that all these people will have seen it, and they will think that that's your interpretation. So I think that there's actually in some weird ways you can have more freedom on screen, I think, and that's partly because there is you don't get 8 weeks rehearsal or 4 weeks rehearsal. Like you might get 20 minutes rehearsal in the morning where you like everyone's expecting you to just trust your instincts. So kind of taking ownership over it and going, I know, like I got hired for this job for this reason, so I'm going to give this a go. And they'll tell you if you're way off. They'll come over and go, bring it down. But I think that I remember I thought drama school is so much better now, and at Lambda in particular, it used to be that you would only start doing TV training when you're in your second year, and they thought that it was like, oh, you're not ready for TV training until you're in your second year, which is stupid because you had so much less training in screen than you did in the theatre when we were there. And now the realisation is that so much work, especially now, I imagine the TV and film industry is going to get up and running again a lot quicker than the theatre industry will after all this COVID-19 stuff. But, you have to be like learning both skills alongside each other so that you don't think that one is scarier than the other or something like that. And a lot of the crossover there is a lot of crossover, and you still have to do a lot of the same homework, but just quieter and less big faces mainly.
Yeah, I think that's the challenge in screen for me, is trying to because you're right, you've got to use your instincts, and that's really freeing and exciting, but it's so hard to work out what your instincts are when you're terrified. And I think it's just the environment is so much more alien that the main thing I want to try and work on is just being relaxed and not thinking too much about the technical stuff, and just being able to act on instinct rather than being like, okay, don't get it wrong, don't miss that.
And never break a take, which is, I wish I knew that. I'd known that earlier. Somebody said it, like Nicole Kidman or someone said it, like never break a take. And she's right, because actually, when you go, oh God, no, sorry, that was terrible, I'll do it again. Like always keep going, because they obviously just cut everything. So there might be like genius stuff in the beginning of the take and then terrible stuff at the end, but it doesn't matter.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm in upper six, so I'm leaving this year as well. And I'm going to drama school in September, but I've still got another round somewhere else to go. So I don't know definitely where yet, but yeah. So my question is, what's the best bit of advice you have been given that you believe has helped you on your journey as an actor, both concerning your acting abilities and your knowledge of the industry? I'm
trying to think. I'd like to come up with like a really useful, pithy line. I mean, Kieran's one then about that Johnny Slinger said is good. I think it's not specifically like a clever line, but just generally. When I suppose fundamentally, it's something for me. I don't know really what acting is, and I get more and more confused about what acting is the more I think about it and the more I do it. and I think at the heart of Something Somewhere is that self-confidence is the most important. There's lots of amazing technical stuff you can learn, and but the people will always disagree about things like that. But I think the more self-confidence you can have, which is not arrogance and it's not showing off, but it's just the ability to go on a film set and be relaxed and in touch with your instincts, but even when they're such extraordinary instincts that no one else would think of them, which can be very embarrassing, but that's always the best acting. And similarly on stage, and yeah, that's the sort of the most useful thing to try and cultivate. I don't know how you do it, but just being able to stick to your guns and listen to whatever the little weird creative voice inside is, not the like, a useful way to do this line would be this, but the one that's like, maybe I'll just scream it. I don't know. Not like that, but like Nicolas Cage is my favorite example of the worst and best actor in the history of the world, because he's constantly listening to that mental voice, which leads to him doing really awful things, but also occasionally it's the most unusual and unbelievable things that no one else would have thought of.
You will have constant rejection. You will come out of drama school and might not get an agent. You might get an agent, but if you start auditioning, you will just. And it's just being able to say, yes, it seems like I'm not getting these, but it's not because I'm not good. You've just got to keep going. And it's finding that inner self of going, I know the last 10 people have said no to me, but they must be idiots. I'm great. Because it's really hard, because you will literally have people saying no to you all the time, and you will compare yourself to other actors all the time, and I don't know, I find it incredibly hard. 13 years later, it still upsets me so much, this job. But you have to have inner confidence, because occasionally you'll get a job or you'll get something, and if you keep going, it will happen occasionally, because it just does, out of numbers. It's not even a sort of because you're the best actor in the world. It just, if you keep pushing, and like you said, like Luke says, keep pushing on, something will happen and you'll have a great time. So yeah, just don't get upset when it goes wrong, because it will go wrong, and you just find the different route to it.
Mm-hmm. I would say it's all, and I'm guessing we all will, I don't want to speak for Kieran, but I think it's all within that area, because it's such an important part of it. And within that, if you can, try not to let the industry define you, as in, we get told so much, you're this, you should only be playing this kind of character, or you're this. I always get like, you're the I always get called unconventional, or I'm this, and it's very easy to let that stuff affect you. So as much as you can, don't let what the outside, the people in the industry are telling you, inform you to who you are and what the limits of your abilities are. It is hard, but it's again within that confidence thing. Stick to your guns and know that you can play any role, and you can't just play one thing. You can play any role. So it's not don't let them get you down or tell you what your box is, basically.
One just little tidbit which was really useful, actually, just that on a kind of a technical thing, was a teacher once said, and it's just stuck with me, is that, you know, those when you get a line and you're like, I hate this thing, that's often actually the key to the character. It's the difference between you and the character. It's often the bridge between the two of you. So rather than going, I don't want to say it, lean into it and just discover what that is. And then I guess it's just like, know why the things that you think are good are good. So what actors do you love? Why do you love them? And what is it that makes what they do good? And look into what your favourite actor, what kind of different school of acting they might practice. A lot of big Hollywood stars, they've got acting coaches. Find out who their acting coach was, or, you know, that kind of thing. Explore, and then also, in terms of yourself, know what your strengths are. Don't be afraid to lean into them when you need to, but also work on your weaknesses, and try and be brutally honest with yourself. as to what you don't think you're good at.
You can learn the most from when something maybe doesn't go well. So don't be afraid to not get things perfect.
Definitely.
I think that's some amazing advice. I think the sort of the idea of self there, be it self-confidence, self-resilience, self-reflection, I think really important is self-principle that Natalie was talking about. If you go and look at your sort of your heroes on screen or stage, they may have a slightly weird moral compass, but artistically they probably are quite principled. And I think at the core, if you have those principles and have that confidence in yourselves, because you are all, I know, good enough to go and achieve in the industry in whatever area. So it's just remembering that. Okay, I'm going to call it there. I thought that was brilliant. So can you, students, can you all just please say thank you to the guys for coming in? So take yourselves off mute.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.